Hi, this is Jason Kraft, and this is my proposal for graduation for the MSMT program from IUPUI. It's a website called Critical Listen, and essentially what it is an introductory and training tool for anyone who has an interest in audio, yet may be lacking a real foundation to begin building upon. This includes students, volunteers at churches, or even the occasional maintenance guy who has to set up a karaoke machine at the company Christmas party. The quote-unquote universal terms and concepts which are used in the professional industry will be explained, allowing for a more educated interaction with professionals by the user of the program, or just for a better understanding of the materials that are currently available in the market today. And there are plenty of materials and resources either in print or online, but very few of them have any examples, let alone a testing or application section. There are three sections to my literature review. The first is the educational theory, which is used in this project, can be extrapolated from Dr. Jerome Bruner's toward a theory of instruction to three primary points. One, that a student has to have a predisposition towards learning the material at hand, because without a desire to learn and come to this website, it will do a user no good whatsoever. The second is that the material is presented in such a way that the student can understand it, and to that end, I have written the lessons as simple and easy to understand as possible. Almost to the point that I'm concerned it might be insulting sometimes, but we all have to begin at a base and communal understanding of the terms we have until that's built upon in further lessons. The third point is that the lessons actually have to progress in the most effective sequence in the presentation of new material. And even to that point, as we'll see later on in the first lesson, is that it begins with a very simple explanation of frequency ranges. The professional material that is referenced and used as a resource in the building of this website comes from very professional and accepted sources of the expertise on various subjects in acoustics and audio throughout the world. For example, I'm using F. Alton Everest's Critical Listening for the Audio Professional, as well as his Master Handbook of Acoustics, a little bit in the first lesson and definitely in lessons later on. And the practical application is what's really going to set this site apart. For instance, it's easy to say that a 6 dB boost at 84 Hz can make a mix sound boomy, but being actually able to play an example before and after such a boost is much more effective in making the point. And at the end of each lesson, there will also be a quiz hitting the key points throughout the lesson. The user will play various examples, select an answer, and at the end of the quiz, incorrect answers will be explained. And we'll see more of this in a few minutes. The source material is going to come from a variety of sources, one of which will be the Creative Commons free usage and licensing. It's basically a copyright committed to the free use and distribution of an artist's material out on the web. They have a network of sites which artists can post their work to with various constraints and categories and filters of what can and cannot be done with the material at hand. For instance, the lesson that I'm using, or the piece that I'm using in lesson 1, is filed under a category which is actually okay to manipulate the song to suit my purposes. This is actually a very cool site, and I suggest everybody look into the licensing rules because I'm sure it can be used for a variety of ways for everyone here. The second point that I'm really going to try and make is that this is not going to be a music-only website. Various sound effects for audio files in theaters will be needed, as well as various situations of acoustics will be used throughout multiple lessons. To get these, I'll either find them online or actually go out in the field and do a little bit of recording myself. And of course, there will be self-created examples, as we'll see in the first part of lesson 1. I just did some arpeggiations, and uses to create the instrument ranges and the frequencies that we see right offhand. Because, of course, where's the fun if we can't record our own stuff, right? Developmental tools. Being the anti-Apple person that I am, my PC-based Project Studio is almost completely cakewalk. I use Sonar, Dimension Pro, the EMU Proteus library for creating and recording my own samples, and to verify the accuracy of the material that's actually being recorded or downloaded or used anywhere in the site. I am in an acoustically treated and EQ'd room and using professional reference monitors. You gotta have a good bass point if you're going to be instructing others, and hoping that their headphones or whatever PC speakers they're using will be good enough. I'm exclusively using the Adobe Creative Suite, Flash, Dreamweaver, and Photoshop to build the site itself and embed the materials and samples and audio all inside there. So this is the site itself, criticallisten.com. Hopefully this is where you are watching the video from. As you can see here on the welcome page, I don't actually have it posted yet. We bounce over to the About. The About page is going to explain a little bit why I'm doing this. It's going to talk a little bit about the MSMT program and a little about how the lessons are supposed to work. This page needs a lot more content still, more details, but as many people have pointed out to me recently, text doesn't do so well on sites anymore. Not so many people actually take the time to go through and read large paragraphs. So hopefully they will pay more attention on the lessons. This is going to be a lessons directory page, as this is still only a proposal. I've only got the first lesson mostly done. On the first page here, as I mentioned earlier, it's just an introduction to frequency range. As you can see, the various examples lining the sides over here, these are all called out throughout the text. I've also got this little graph right down here. More such illustrations will be used in further lessons whenever they are needed, as called out. The second page actually takes this a step further, and this uses the example song from Creative Commons that I mentioned earlier and manipulates it in various ways, thus enhancing the lesson established on the first page of this lesson, talking about the low boost and the mids and the different frequency ranges to be manipulated accordingly, so that the user can emphasize what they have just learned on the previous page and hear it in a real-world example. On the last page of this lesson, we have a little quiz which calls out more examples, and I'm just going to pick a couple answers here. I'm not really paying too much attention to what I'm grabbing here, but it's a nice little JavaScript quiz that pops up and discusses why the answer was wrong. I randomly grabbed all of them wrong there, but just to give feedback to the user, which is what's really missing out there today. I hope to make multiple layers of these lesson quizzes as needed. So in this lesson, there's only, we only need one little page with 4 questions on it to get the point across. And more advanced things, maybe beginning acoustics, we might need multiple pages to expound upon those and to give a better feedback. If we bounce over to the info page, just a couple of things here. Contacting, send me an email for any questions or comments, suggestions, requests. Also the materials that I am reading and have learned from and will be referencing throughout this project. And another link over to the Creative Commons webpage with the licensing that I'm using there. Specifically for this one particular site, the CC Mixter, but this is the Creative Commons homepage itself, which discusses more in-depth details that we can use. So I'm proposing to do at least an additional dozen or so lessons, covering all the way up to basic acoustics, yet always leaving an opening for requested content or further explanation wherever it's needed. So I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening.